Welcome to Body Basics, where we break down complex health topics in just 14 minutes. Today, we're diving into the world of schizophrenia, a condition that's often misunderstood and shrouded in mystery. Buckle up because we're about to take a wild ride through the human mind. Schizophrenia isn't just about hearing voices or having a split personality. That's Hollywood talking. It's a chronic mental health condition that affects how a person thinks, feels, and behaves. Imagine your brain as a complex orchestra, but in schizophrenia, some instruments are playing out of tune, while others have gone completely rogue. Now let's hit you with some numbers. About 1% of the global population is affected by schizophrenia. That's roughly 78 million people, more than the entire population of the UK. And here's a fun fact. If you gathered all the people with schizophrenia in one place, they could form a country larger than Germany. Talk about a unique nation. But before we dive deeper, let's bust some myths. No, people with schizophrenia aren't inherently violent. They're more likely to star in a romantic comedy than a horror movie. And no, it's not the same as having multiple personalities. That's a different condition altogether. Schizophrenia is more like having an overactive imagination that sometimes gets a bit too real. So what exactly is schizophrenia? Well, it's like your brain decided to throw a party and forgot to send you an invitation. This party has three types of uninvited guests: positive symptoms, negative symptoms, and cognitive symptoms. Now, don't let the word positive fool you. It's not as fun as it sounds. Positive symptoms are like that annoying party crasher who brings their own music and insists on playing it full blast. These include hallucinations, seeing or hearing things that aren't there. Imagine your favorite celebrity suddenly appearing in your living room. Exciting, right? Not when you're trying to watch Netflix and chill. Then there are delusions, false beliefs that persist despite evidence to the contrary. It's like being convinced that you're secretly a superhero, but your powers only work when no one's looking. Frustrating, to say the least. Negative symptoms, on the other hand, are like that party pooper who sits in the corner and refuses to dance. These include reduced emotional expression and social withdrawal. It's as if someone hit the mute button on your emotions and social skills. Lastly, we have cognitive symptoms, which are like trying to solve a Rubik's Cube while riding a unicycle. These include impaired memory and attention issues. Ever walked into a room and forgotten why you're there? Imagine feeling like that all the time. Now you might be wondering, what causes this mental mischief? Well, it's a bit like making complicated recipe. You need the right ingredients, genes, the right environment, stress, trauma, drug use, and sometimes just a pinch of bad luck. Let's talk brain chemistry. In schizophrenia, it's like your brain decided to host a dopamine rave. Dopamine, the feel-good neurotransmitter, goes into overdrive, leading to hallucinations and delusions. It's like your brain is on a perpetual sugar high, but instead of craving candy, you're seeing things that aren't there. But wait, there's more. Glutamate, another neurotransmitter, joins the party. It's like the responsible friend who's trying to calm things down, but in schizophrenia, it's not doing its job properly. Now let's take a trip inside the brain of someone with schizophrenia. If we could shrink ourselves and go on a magic school bus style adventure, we'd notice some interesting sights. The hippocampus, responsible for memory, might look a bit smaller than usual. The thalamus, which acts like a switchboard for sensory information, might be a bit off. And the prefrontal cortex, the brain's CEO, might be struggling to keep everything in order. It's like the brain decided to do some remodeling but forgot to follow the blueprints. This remodeling often starts during childhood or adolescence, which is why schizophrenia typically shows up in the late teens to early 20s. It's like puberty decided to throw in an extra curveball, just for fun. Now let's talk about the different flavors of schizophrenia. Yes, like ice cream, it comes in various types. There's schizoaffective disorder, which is like schizophrenia, and mood disorders decided to have a crossover episode. Then there's paranoid schizophrenia, where suspicion is the name of the game. It's like living in a spy movie, but you're not sure if you're the hero or the villain. Disorganized schizophrenia is like your thoughts decided to play musical chairs. And then there's catatonia, a less common but fascinating symptom. It's like your body decided to play a game of statue without telling you. You might freeze in place or make unusual movements. It's the brain's way of saying, I'm going to sit this one out. Living with schizophrenia is no walk in the park. It's more like trying to navigate a maze while wearing a blindfold and roller skates. Simple tasks can become Herculean challenges. Imagine trying to hold down a job when you're not sure if your coworker is real or a hallucination, or maintaining friendships when your brain keeps telling you they're all part of a grand conspiracy. Cognitive deficits can make decision-making feel like you're trying to solve a Rubik's Cube in the dark. And let's not forget about the stigma. It's like wearing an invisible, handle with care sign that only some people can see. But it's not all doom and gloom. With the right treatment and support, many people with schizophrenia lead fulfilling lives. It's like learning to dance in the rain instead of waiting for the storm to pass. Speaking of treatment, let's talk about the tools in our schizophrenia fighting toolkit. First up, we have medications. Antipsychotics are like bouncers for your brain, keeping those unruly neurotransmitters in check. They come in two flavors, typical and atypical. The typical ones are like the old school bouncers. They get the job done but can be a bit rough. The atypical ones are more like modern security guards, smoother but still effective. But these medications aren't without their quirks. They can cause side effects like weight gain, hello dad bod, drowsiness, goodbye productivity, and in some cases a condition called tardive dyskinesia. That's a fancy way of saying unexpected dance moves. Suddenly breaking into the robot at a family dinner could be tardive dyskinesia. Next in our toolkit, we have psychotherapy. Cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, is like a personal trainer for your mind, helping you manage those pesky delusions and hallucinations. It's like teaching your brain to fact-check itself. Family therapy and psychoeducation are also crucial. After all, schizophrenia doesn't just affect the individual, it's a family affair. It's like the whole family is learning to navigate a new reality together. Rehabilitation is another key component. This includes social skills training, because sometimes you need a refresher on how to human, occupational therapy, to help you get back in the game of life, and peer support groups, because sometimes you just need to talk to someone who gets it. But wait, there's more. Science is always cooking up new treatments. We've got transcranial magnetic stimulation, TMS, which is like a gentle reboot for your brain. Cognitive remediation therapy is like physical therapy for your mind, helping to strengthen those cognitive muscles. And let's not forget about the exciting world of research. Scientists are exploring everything from gene therapy, because sometimes you need to have a stern talk with your DNA, to psychedelics like psilocybin. Turns out, magic mushrooms might have some real magic after all. Now let's zoom out and look at how schizophrenia impacts society. It's not just individuals who are affected. Families and caregivers often find themselves on an emotional roller coaster. It's like being on a never-ending episode of a medical drama, but without the attractive doctors or convenient commercial breaks. Unfortunately, many individuals with untreated schizophrenia end up in the criminal justice system or homeless. It's a stark reminder of how crucial proper treatment and support are. But it's not all bad news. Many people with schizophrenia have made significant contributions to society. Take John Nash, the brilliant mathematician portrayed in A Beautiful Mind. He showed us that having schizophrenia doesn't mean you can't change the world. You might just see it a little differently along the way. Now let's talk about how the media portrays schizophrenia. Spoiler alert, they often get it wrong. TV shows and movies tend to focus on the most extreme cases, usually involving violence. It's like they're trying to win an award for most dramatic portrayal of a mental health condition. In reality, people with schizophrenia are far more likely to be victims of violence than perpetrators. They're more Hulk than Incredible Hulk, if you catch my drift. This misinformation has consequences. It leads to fear and stigma, making it harder for people with schizophrenia to seek help and integrate into society. It's like trying to make friends while wearing a t-shirt that says, "Warning, may cause panic." Not exactly a great icebreaker. But let's end on a high note, shall we? Recovery in schizophrenia is possible. It doesn't mean a cure in the traditional sense, but it does mean hope, stability, and improvement. With the right treatment and support, many individuals with schizophrenia lead fulfilling lives. They have jobs, relationships, hobbies. You know, all the good stuff that makes life worth living. Recovery is different for everyone. For some, it might mean going back to work or school. For others, it might mean rekindling relationships or pursuing passions. It's like everyone gets to write their own happily ever after. So, what have we learned in these 14 minutes? Schizophrenia is complex, challenging, and often misunderstood, but it's also treatable, and those living with it are capable of remarkable things. It's not a life sentence of isolation and struggle, but rather a different lens through which to view the world. If you or someone you know is showing signs of schizophrenia, don't hesitate to seek help. Early intervention can make a world of difference. And remember, mental health conditions are just that, health conditions. They don't define a person any more than having the flu or breaking a bone would. So the next time you hear about schizophrenia, remember this. Behind every diagnosis is a person with hopes, dreams, and the potential to surprise us all. Let's replace fear with understanding, stigma with support, and misconceptions with knowledge. And who knows? Maybe the person sitting next to you on the bus, or serving your coffee, or even the next great artist or scientist is living with schizophrenia. They're not just surviving, they're thriving one day at a time. So here's to the complex, fascinating, and resilient human mind. And here's to all those navigating the world of schizophrenia. May your journey be filled with understanding, support, and moments of brilliant clarity. That's all for today's episode of Body Basics. Remember, whether your brain is throwing a quiet tea party or a full-blown rave, you're still you, unique, valuable, and worthy of understanding and support. Until next time, keep your mind open and your facts straight. This is Body Basics, signing off.